My husband kept a secret apartment and lived a double life for 11 months. I found out at a barbecue when his drunk friend exposed him, so I filed for divorce and saved the messages, but he never expected what came next. If this story pulled you in, please subscribe to Velvet Stories so you don't miss the next one. The grill stopped sizzling. Someone's beer can hit the deck. I stood there holding a plate of potato salad while 8 people stared at me with identical expressions of horror. "Know what?" I asked. Brandon swayed, pointing his bottle at my husband, about the apartment. My husband, Kevin, went pale. "Dude, shut up. What apartment?" I set the potato salad down carefully. Brandon's wife grabbed his arm. "Honey, maybe we should go." "No," I stepped forward. "What apartment, Brandon?" He looked at Kevin, then back at me, the one downtown with the girl from his office. The words came out slurred but clear enough. "Thought you knew. Thought that's why you two were getting divorced." "We weren't getting divorced. At least I didn't think we were." Kevin lunged forward. "You're drunk. You don't know what you're talking about." "Been going there for 6 months," Brandon continued, his wife now actively trying to pull him away. "Told us all about it during poker night. Said you were too focused on the kids to notice." I felt my face go numb. Our kids who were inside watching a movie who had no idea their father had a whole second life 15 minutes from our house. "Is this true?" I turned to Kevin. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Can we talk about this inside? Answer the question. It's complicated." That's when I noticed everyone else backing toward the gate. Our neighbors, his co-workers, my sister, they were all leaving, abandoning their plates and drinks, suddenly very interested in getting home. "How long has everyone known?" My voice came out steady, flat. Nobody answered. They just kept moving. My sister at least had the decency to look ashamed. "Honey, I thought you were okay with it. Kevin said you two had an arrangement." "An arrangement?" I'd been cooking this man's favorite meals, doing his laundry, raising his children, sleeping in his bed. While he told people we had an arrangement, Kevin reached for my arm. I stepped back. "Don't touch me. Let me explain." "How long?" "What? How long?" He ran his hand through his hair. "Does it matter? Tell me." 11 months. 11 months. I did the math in my head. He'd started this before our daughter's birthday. Before we'd taken that family trip to the lake, before we'd renewed our vows on our 10th anniversary. I walked inside, past my kids on the couch, went upstairs to our bedroom and opened his laptop. I knew his password because we had no secrets, or so I'd thought. His email was still logged in. I typed apartment into the search bar. 147 results. Lease agreements, furniture orders, utility bills, all with a different address. I clicked on the most recent email thread. Kevin and someone named Felicity discussing paint colors for our bedroom. Our bedroom. That's when I saw the attachment, a photo of them together. Her wearing what I recognized as my missing diamond earrings. The ones Kevin said he'd get replated. My hands were shaking now. I opened his text messages, scrolled back to last Tuesday when he'd claimed he was working late on the Henderson account. The texts told a different story. "Can't wait to see you tonight, bringing wine," and her response, "I'll be waiting." "Wear the cologne I like." I bought him that cologne for Father's Day. Kevin appeared in the doorway. "Listen, I can explain everything." "Which cologne does she like?" I asked, still looking at the screen. "What, the one I bought you for Father's Day or the one before that?" He didn't answer. I kept scrolling. There were hundreds of messages. Thousands, maybe good morning texts, good night texts, photos of meals they'd shared, inside jokes, pet names, an entire relationship documented in his phone while I'd been completely oblivious. "How could you do this?" My voice cracked. "I never meant for it to happen. That's not an answer." He sat on the edge of the bed, our bed where we'd slept together last night, where he'd kissed me goodbye this morning before leaving for work. Except he probably hadn't gone to work at all. "I met her at the office mixer last year," he said quietly. We started talking. It was innocent at first. When does an affair become innocent? That's not what I meant. I found a text from 2 days ago. Kevin had sent Felicity a photo of me sleeping. The caption read, "Dead to the world as usual, I'll be there in 20. He'd taken a picture of me sleeping to prove to his girlfriend that he could sneak out. "Did you laugh about me?" I asked. "When you were with her, did you tell her how stupid I was? How easy it was to fool me?" "No, God, no, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Kevin? Help me understand how you managed to maintain 2 separate lives for almost a year." He rubbed his face. "You stopped paying attention to me. You're always with the kids or at your book club or working on your projects. I felt invisible. So this is my fault. I'm not saying that. You literally just said that." Our daughter called from downstairs. "Mom, can we have popcorn?" I took a breath, forced my voice to sound normal. Sure, honey, I'll be down in a minute. Kevin stood. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Can we at least talk about this? Really talk? I looked at him. This man I'd known for 12 years, married for 10, had 2 children with, bought a house with, built an entire life with, and I realized I didn't know him at all. Get out of this room, I said. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. The apartment, maybe. I'm sure Felicity would love to have you. He left. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, the front door opening and closing, the sound of his car starting in the driveway. I sat there on the bed for a long time, staring at his laptop screen. Then I started taking screenshots. Every email, every text, every receipt. I created a folder and saved everything. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew I needed evidence. My daughter appeared in the doorway holding her stuffed rabbit. Where did Daddy go? He had to run an errand. Sweetie, is everything okay? You look sad. I forced a smile. I'm fine, just tired. Did you want that popcorn? She nodded and took my hand. We went downstairs together. I made popcorn while she and her brother argued over which movie to watch next. I sat between them on the couch, pretending everything was normal while my entire world collapsed around me. That night, after I'd put the kids to bed, I went through Kevin's laptop more thoroughly. I found the lease agreement for the apartment. It was in both their names, Kevin and Felicity Morrison. They'd signed it 8 months ago, which meant he'd lied about the timeline. It wasn't 11 months, it was longer. The apartment cost $2,400 a month. I checked our bank statements. There were no withdrawals for that amount, which meant he had a separate account I didn't know about. I opened his filing cabinet in the home office, found bank statements for an account at a different bank. He'd been depositing money there for over a year, small amounts at first, then larger ones. The current balance was $18,000, money I hadn't known existed. I called my sister at midnight. She answered on the first ring. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I should have told you. How long have you known? 6 months. I ran into them at a restaurant downtown. Kevin said you two had separated but were keeping it quiet for the kids. I believed him. Why didn't you ask me about it? I don't know. I guess I thought if you weren't talking about it, you didn't want to. I hung up without saying goodbye. The next morning, Kevin came back. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept. He probably hadn't. Can we talk now? He asked. The kids are at school. You have until I picked them up at noon. We sat in the living room not touching. I took the couch. He took the chair. I ended it. He said when last night after I left, I went to the apartment and told Felicity it was over. How did she take it? She was upset, but she understood. Did you tell her about Brandon, about how everyone found out? He nodded. What did she say? She said she knew this would happen eventually, that I'd never actually leave you. Were you planning to leave me? He looked at his hands. I don't know, maybe. I hadn't decided. You signed a lease with her. You set up a joint bank account. You spent almost a year building a life with her, but you hadn't decided. It was complicated. Stop saying that. Nothing about this is complicated. You cheated on me. You lied to me. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone we know. Those are simple facts. I'm sorry. For what specifically? For cheating? For lying, for getting caught, all of it. That's not good enough. He leaned forward. What do you want me to say? I screwed up. I know that, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. You think counseling is going to fix the fact that you had an entire secret life? People get through worse. Name one thing worse than this. He couldn't. I stood up. I want you to move out. Where am I supposed to go? You have an apartment, remember? Or did Felicity change the locks? I told her I was ending it. I can't go back there. That sounds like a you problem. Be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You're the one who decided our marriage wasn't enough. You're the one who made this choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. He started crying, actual tears running down his face. Please don't do this. I love you. I love our family. You should have thought about that before you signed a lease with someone else. I left the room before I could see his response, went upstairs and started packing his things. Clothes, toiletries, shoes. I filled 4 suitcases and 2 boxes, brought them downstairs and set them by the front door. You have until noon to get these out of here. I said after that they're going on the lawn. He looked at the suitcases, at me, back at the suitcases. You're really doing this? Yes. What about the kids? What about them? What are we going to tell them? You can tell them whatever you want. I'm going to tell them the truth, that their father decided he wanted a different life and now he's going to have one. They're too young to understand. They're 8 and 6. They're old enough to know when someone's lying to them. I picked up my purse and keys. I'm going to run errands. When I come back, you better be gone. I drove to the bank first, withdrew half of everything in our joint accounts, then I went to a lawyer's office. I'd looked up divorce attorneys that morning and picked the one with the highest rating. The lawyer's name was Patricia. She was in her 50s with kind eyes and a firm handshake. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. I told her about Brandon's drunken revelation, about the apartment, about Felicity, about the secret bank account, about the 11 months of lies. I showed her the screenshots I'd taken. She took notes while I talked. When I finished, she said, "You have a strong case for what? For whatever you want. Divorce, obviously. But also, depending on the state's laws, you might be entitled to more than half the assets given his deception. The secret account alone could work in your favor. I don't want his money." "Then what do you want?" I thought about it. "I want my kids to be okay. I want to not feel like an idiot. I want to move on with my life. All of those things are possible, but you need to decide how you want to proceed. Do you want to file immediately or give him a chance to make things right? Can things be made right after this?" She leaned back in her chair. "I've been doing this for 28 years. I've seen marriages survive worse. I've also seen marriages end over much less. It depends on what you can live with. I don't think I can live with this, then we file." She drew up the paperwork while I waited. Petition for dissolution of marriage, temporary custody arrangement, division of assets. It was all very clinical, very official, very final. I signed where she indicated. My hand shook a little, but I got through it. "What happens now?" I asked. "He gets served. Then he has a certain amount of time to respond. If he contests anything, we go to mediation. If he doesn't, we move forward with the divorce. How long does it take? Depends on how cooperative he is. Could be 6 months, could be a year." I thanked her and left, sat in my car in the parking lot for a while. I couldn't believe this was my life now. Filing for divorce, splitting assets, arranging custody schedules. None of this had been in the plan. When I got home, Kevin's car was gone, so were the suitcases. He'd left his key on the kitchen counter with a note. "I'm staying at Brandon's. Please call me when you're ready to talk." I threw the note away. That afternoon, I picked up the kids from school like normal. They asked where Daddy was. I told them he was on a business trip. It was easier than explaining the truth. At dinner, my daughter said, "Mia's parents are getting divorced. Her dad moved out and now she only sees him on weekends. That must be hard for Mia," I said carefully. She said her parents fight all the time. "Do you and Daddy fight?" My son looked up from his chicken nuggets, waiting for my answer. "Sometimes grown-ups disagree about things," I said, "but that's normal." "Are you and Daddy going to get divorced like Mia's parents?" I put down my fork. I couldn't lie to them. They deserved better than that. "Daddy and I are having some problems right now. We're trying to figure things out." "What kind of problems?" "Adult problems. Nothing for you to worry about," but they were worried. I could see it in their faces. The way they looked at each other. The way they suddenly became very interested in their food. That night, my daughter crawled into bed with me. "I miss Daddy." "I know, honey. You'll see him soon. Promise. Promise." I held her until she fell asleep, then carried her back to her own bed. I was exhausted, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything I'd learned, everything I didn't know, how many other lies were there. I got up and went through the house systematically. Checked every drawer, every cabinet, every closet. I found a box of condoms in his nightstand. We hadn't used condoms in years. I'd had my tubes tied after our son was born. I found receipts for jewelry I'd never seen, restaurant bills from places we'd never been together, hotel confirmations for weekends he'd claimed to be at conferences. The evidence kept piling up. Each piece another wound, another betrayal. By morning, I had 3 boxes full of proof that my husband had been living a double life. I took pictures of everything and sent them to Patricia. She called me back within the hour. "This changes things," she said. "With this much evidence of deception, we can argue for more favorable terms. He won't look good in front of a judge. I don't want to destroy him. I just want this to be over. Understood, but you should know what leverage you have." Kevin called that afternoon. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again. On the 5th call, I answered. "What? Can I please come home? Brandon's couch is killing my back. That's not my problem. I need to see the kids. You can see them this weekend. I'll drop them off at Brandon's. I want to see them at home in their own environment. You gave up the right to dictate terms when you moved out. I didn't move out. You kicked me out. Semantics." He was quiet for a moment. "I got served today." "Good, you're really going through with this." "Yes, don't I get a say?" "You had a say. You made your choice when you started sleeping with Felicity. It was a mistake. One mistake." "Are you really going to throw away 10 years over one mistake?" "It wasn't one mistake, Kevin. It was thousands of tiny choices. Every time you texted her, every time you went to that apartment, every time you lied to my face, those were all choices." "I'm sorry, I know, but sorry doesn't fix this." I hung up. The next few days were a blur. I told the kids that Daddy and I were separating. My daughter cried. My son asked if it was his fault. I held them both and promised it wasn't, that sometimes adults just couldn't be married anymore. "But you still love each other, right?" My daughter asked. I didn't know how to answer that. Did I still love Kevin? I loved who I thought he was. but that person had turned out to be a fiction. It's complicated, I finally said. My son nodded like he understood, even though he couldn't possibly. That weekend, I drove the kids to Brandon's for their visit with Kevin. He came out to the car when we pulled up. Can we talk? He asked. Not right now. When? I don't know. He looked at the kids in the back seat. Can I at least hug them goodbye? I nodded. He opened the back door and pulled them both into his arms. They clung to him like he was going away to war. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Okay, he said. We're going to have so much fun. Maybe we'll go to the arcade. They cheered. I felt a stab of something. Not jealousy exactly, more like grief for what we'd been, what we'd never be again. I drove home to an empty house, sat in the silence for a while, then I started going through Kevin's things more thoroughly. I found a journal in the back of his closet. I knew I shouldn't read it. It felt like a violation, but he'd violated me first, so I opened it. The first entry was from 13 months ago. Met someone interesting today. Her name is Felicity. She's new to the office. We talked for over an hour at the mixer. I can't remember the last time I had a conversation that engaging. I flipped ahead. Felicity and I got coffee today just as friends, but I couldn't stop thinking about her all afternoon. Is that wrong? Probably. But it felt good to feel something, and further in, I kissed Felicity today. I told myself I wouldn't, that I'd keep it professional. But when she looked at me with those eyes, I couldn't help myself. What am I doing? I love my, but I can't stop thinking about her. The entries went on page after page of Kevin's justifications, his rationalizations, his excuses. Things with Felicity are getting serious. She wants me to leave. Part of me wants that too, but how can I abandon my kids? They need me, but not enough to stop cheating, apparently. The final entry was from a week ago. I think I'm in love with Felicity. Is that possible to love two people at once? I know I should end this. I know I'm destroying everything, but I can't imagine my life without her now. I closed the journal, threw it across the room. Then I sat on the floor and cried for the first time since all of this started. Not quiet tears, big ugly sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for the marriage I thought I had, for the future I'd imagined, for my kids who didn't ask for any of this, for myself and how stupid I'd been. When I finally stopped, my face was swollen and my throat was raw. I looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the woman staring back. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. How are you holding up? I didn't respond. I wasn't ready to talk to her yet. She'd known for months and said nothing. That betrayal felt almost as bad as Kevin's. Sunday evening, Kevin brought the kids home. They ran inside, chattering about the arcade and the pizza they'd had for lunch. Kevin lingered at the door. They had a good time, he said. Good. Can I come in just for a minute? No, please, I miss you. I miss this. You should have thought about that. I know I'm an idiot, but I'm trying to fix things. You can't fix this, Kevin. Why not? People make mistakes. That's human. But we have history, we have kids, we have a life together, had past tense. His face crumpled. Don't say that. It's true. It doesn't have to be. We can start over. Clean slate. I'll do anything. Anything. Yes. Sign the divorce papers without contesting anything. He stepped back like I'd slapped him. You don't mean that. I do. Think about the kids. I am thinking about them. They deserve to grow up seeing what a healthy relationship looks like. Ours isn't that anymore. Because of one mistake. Stop calling it that. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This was a deliberate choice you made over and over for months. He started crying again. I can't lose you. I can't lose them. You're not losing the kids. You'll still be their father, but I'm losing you. Yes, he wiped his face. There's nothing I can say to change your mind. No, he nodded slowly. Okay, if that's what you want, I'll sign the papers. Thank you. He turned to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did anyway. Yeah, I did. He left. I closed the door and locked it. Then I went to check on the kids. They were in the living room building something with blocks. Did you have fun with Daddy? I asked. They nodded enthusiastically, started telling me about every game they'd played, every prize they'd won. I listened and smiled and pretended my heart wasn't breaking. That night after they were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of wine in Kevin's journal. I read every entry again, looking for clues I'd missed, signs that this was coming. There weren't any, or maybe there were and I'd been too blind to see them. Either way, it didn't matter now. I thought about the last 10 years, all the moments that had seemed perfect. Were any of them real? Or had Kevin been mentally checking out the whole time, just waiting for something better to come along? My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello, is this Mrs. Hamilton? Yes, this is Felicity Morrison. I froze. Why are you calling me? I need to talk to you about Kevin. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just 5 minutes. There are things you should know. Against my better judgment, I said, Fine, 5 minutes. She took a breath. Kevin lied to both of us about everything. I'm listening. He told me you two were separated, that you'd been living separate lives for over a year, that the divorce was practically finalized. None of that was true, I know that now, but I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He seemed so genuine. Is there a point to this call? Yes, I want you to know I had no idea. If I'd known he was still living with you, still sleeping in your bed, still playing happy family, I never would have gotten involved. Okay, that's it. Just okay. What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? I don't even know you. I want you to know I'm not a home wrecker. I'm not the kind of person who goes after married men, and yet she was quiet. You're right. Intentions don't matter. Actions do, and my actions destroyed your marriage. No, Kevin's actions destroyed my marriage. You were just a participant. That's generous of you. I'm not being generous. I'm being accurate. Kevin made vows to me. You didn't. His betrayal is on him. For what it's worth, I ended things. After Brandon's party, Kevin came to the apartment and tried to explain. I told him to leave and not come back. Good for you. I just thought you should know that it's really over between us. Noted, and I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much coming from me, but I am. I hung up without responding. I didn't know her absolution, didn't owe her anything, but her call confirmed what I'd suspected. Kevin had been lying to everyone, playing both sides, trying to have it all. The following Monday, Kevin signed the divorce papers. Patricia called to tell me he didn't contest anything. I asked. Not a single thing. He signed everything exactly as we proposed. That was fast. He must really want this over with, or he was finally accepting reality. Either way, it meant we could move forward. The divorce would take another 4 months to finalize. In the meantime, we established a custody schedule. Kevin would have the kids every other weekend and 1 night a week. I kept the house. He kept his retirement account. We split everything else down the middle. It was all very civilized, very adult, very depressing. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Monroe. She specialized in trauma from infidelity. How are you sleeping? She asked during our first session. Not great. That's normal. Your body's in survival mode. The betrayal you experienced is a form of trauma. It doesn't feel like trauma, it just feels like sadness. Sadness is part of it, but so is anger, confusion, self-doubt. All of those are normal responses. I keep wondering what I did wrong. Why do you think you did something wrong? Because he chose someone else. That has to mean something about me, right? It means something about him, about his choices, not about your worth. I wanted to believe that, but part of me kept circling back to the same question. What did Felicity have that I didn't? What made her worth risking everything? Stop comparing yourself to her, Dr. Monroe said when I voiced this thought. You're not competing. There is no winner here, everyone lost. She was right, but it didn't make it easier. I started going to a support group for people going through divorce. It met every Tuesday night in a church basement. There were 8 of us, all different ages and backgrounds, all dealing with the aftermath of broken marriages. A woman named Gina had caught her husband with their nanny. Another woman, Helen, had discovered her wife was having an emotional affair with someone online. A man named Charlie was divorcing after his spouse came out as gay. Everyone had a story. Everyone was hurting. The hardest part, Gina said one night, is that everyone else gets to move on. He's with the nanny now. They seem happy and I'm stuck here still processing what happened. I understood that Kevin was moving on. He'd already found another place to live, a studio apartment across town. He seemed fine. Meanwhile, I was falling apart. It gets better, Helen said. I know that sounds impossible right now, but it does. When I asked, different for everyone. For me, it took about a year before I could get through a whole day without crying. A year. I couldn't imagine feeling like this for another year, but slowly, gradually, things did get easier, not better, just less raw. I stopped checking Kevin's social media, stopped wondering what he was doing or who he was with, started focusing on myself and the kids. We fell into a new routine. Just the boys and me during the week. Quiet mornings, family dinners, bedtime stories. Then Kevin would pick them up Friday evening and I'd have the weekend to myself. At first, I didn't know what to do with the alone time. I'd wander around the empty house lost. But eventually, I started enjoying it. I'd go to the movies by myself, take long walks, read books I'd been meaning to get to, rediscover who I was outside of being a wife. 6 months after Kevin moved out, I ran into Brandon at the grocery store. Hey, he said awkwardly. How are you? I'm okay. You? Good, listen, I'm really sorry about everything. I was drunk and stupid and I never should have said anything. Actually, I'm glad you did. Better to know than to keep living a lie. He looked relieved. Kevin's doing okay, by the way, in case you were wondering. I wasn't, but thanks, he misses you. Talks about you all the time. He should have thought about that before he cheated. Brandon nodded. Yeah, he knows he messed up. Good, maybe he won't do it to the next person. I paid for my groceries and left, didn't look back. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Thursday in October. Patricia called to tell me it was official. How do you feel? She asked. I don't know, empty maybe, that's normal. The end of a marriage is like a death. You're allowed to grieve, but I didn't feel like grieving. I felt numb. That evening, I took off my wedding ring for the first time in 10 years, slipped it into a jewelry box, and closed the lid. It felt symbolic, final. The kids took it harder than I expected. Even though they'd known it was coming, the reality of it hit them differently. Does this mean Daddy's never coming home? My daughter asked. He'll still be your daddy, he'll just live somewhere else, but our family is broken now. No, honey, our family just looks different, but we're still a family. She didn't seem convinced. Neither was I, honestly. Kevin called that night. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. I heard it's final. He said, yeah, I know this is what you wanted, but I just need you to know that I never stopped loving you. Love isn't enough, Kevin. It never was. I know, I'm sorry. Me too. We sat in silence for a moment. All the things we could say, should say. None of it mattered now. Take care of yourself, he finally said. You too. I hung up and sat there in the quiet house, alone but not lonely. Free but not quite ready to feel it yet. The next morning, I woke up and realized I'd slept through the whole night for the first time in months. No nightmares, no waking up in a panic, just solid, dreamless sleep. It felt like progress. I started making plans, small ones at first. I signed up for a painting class, started running in the mornings, reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Slowly, I began to feel like myself again, or maybe a new version of myself, someone stronger, someone who knew her worth. On what would have been our 11th anniversary, I took the kids to the beach. We built sand castles and collected shells and watched the sunset. My daughter asked if I was sad. A little, I admitted, but also okay. I'm sad too, she said. But the ice cream helped, I laughed. Ice cream does help. That night after the kids were asleep, I sat on the porch and thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the divorce, the aftermath, all of it had been terrible, but I'd survived, and that felt like something worth celebrating. I thought about Kevin and Felicity and wondered if they'd gotten back together. Then I realized I didn't actually care. Their story wasn't mine anymore. My story was just